Chris, you ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Pursuant to instructions from the President of the United States, Honorable Donald J. Trump, the Governor of Georgia, the Honorable Brian Kemp, as well as myself, Mayor of Macon-Bibb County. The Macon-Bibb County Committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March the 24th will be available to the Macon-Bibb County Commissioners by conference call only. For the 9 o'clock a.m. Committee of the Whole meeting, all right, can y'all hear me now? All right, well, then let me start over and say, pursuant to the instructions from the President of the United States, the Honorable Donald J. Trump, the Governor of Georgia, Honorable Brian Kemp, as well as myself as Mayor of Macon-Bibb County, the Macon-Bibb County Committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March the 24th, 2020 will be available to the Macon-Bibb County Commissioners by conference call only for the 9 o'clock a.m. Committee of the Whole meeting. The Commission chambers will be closed to the public and press as we follow the recommendations from the White House to limit public gatherings for the next 15 days in order to slow the spread of COVID-19. Therefore, the public and press may only access the meeting simultaneously online at www.maconbibb.us or www.facebook.com/Macon-Bibb County. With that having been said, I call the meeting to order and would suggest that those of you who would like to join in with me as I stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Schlesinger, if you are on the line, sir, would you be kind enough to say an invocation for us?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. Our God and Creator, we thank you for your many blessings, for life and health, for work and rest, for home and love, friendship, and the opportunity that you have given us to serve the citizens of the Macon-Bibb County. We pray that the coronavirus situation that we now face is one that we can endure and that will dissipate in a very short amount of time, enabling us to return to life as normal. We pray that peace and goodwill will obtain among the inhabitants of our county, our city, our land, and that the belief of you will continue to spread its many blessings among us, exalting us all in righteousness. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
If you all will please mute your phones until you get ready to speak, I think that would help with some of the noise level.
All right, let me begin by giving a couple of updates to my commissioners, and I want to start with a word of appreciation for each and every one of the commissioners for your phone calls, for your concern, for your recommendations and suggestions. Dr. Moffitt has been here. How about that? Is that better? Ask the commissioners. Well, for the benefit of everybody, can we have a roll call vote and we'll take your phone off mute and let Janice call and see if you're here so we can have an accurate roll call.
Commissioner Tillman?
Then we do have a quorum, and I understand that everybody can hear me, and I have heard everybody that announced with Commissioner Wynn, Commissioner Schlesinger, Commissioner Lucas, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Allen, and Commissioner Watkins all on the line with us. I started out with you. I'm sorry, Commissioner Wynn.
Terrible. I don't know what you've done to the phone. It's hard to understand you.
We are getting echo, and I don't know how to get rid of it.
Not unless y'all hang up your phones. I think that will stop the echo.
Is that better?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, well, I'll mute my phone and just get picked up by the microphone there.
That works. Okay.
Okay.
That's better.
Good. Well, so again, let me start with a word of thanks and appreciation to each and every one of my commissioners, members of the Macon-Bibb County Commission, for your thoughts, for your prayers, for your phone calls, for your consideration, suggestions, etc. Dr. Moffitt has been in touch with you. I have been in touch with several of you as well, as we have weathered our way through this crazy situation. As most of you know, we issued a state of emergency declaration yesterday that was effective at 5:15 yesterday afternoon, and effectively it closed restaurants except for takeout, carry-out, curbside service. It closed taverns and bars. It closed fitness centers, gymnasiums, Pure Bar, yoga classes, and personal care facilities and activities like hairstylists, barbering, cosmetology, nail salons, etc. And because we were trying to limit the exposure of people in close contact for extended periods of time. This executive order is for 2 weeks and will expire, I think it's on April the 6th. So we are hoping that things will improve and that we will be effective in preventing or reducing the spread of the COVID virus and be able to resume normal activities in a couple of weeks. We also watched last night the press conference from the governor, and I'm going to ask the county attorney, Duke Groover, to summarize the 2 executive orders that the governor issued yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's picking you up.
Yeah, but I maybe a better echo.
Control.
Can everybody hear me?
It's starting awful. Like, everyone that's in City Hall, mute your phone. So you have an echo. There's too many phones on at City Hall.
That turns off that too.
No, you turn that on.
Okay.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
We got too many phones on.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's much better.
Mr. Mayor, turn this mic on.
I got it. How's that? Okay. All right. I just turned my phone off and I'm just going through this microphone to the commissioners and this microphone goes to the public, right? Okay. All right, so I just turned my phone off. All right. Sorry about that. So there are the governor issued two executive orders, yesterday. The most pertinent one to the county and to all counties and all municipalities and all citizens in Georgia is the first one I'm going to go through, and it has basically three parts to it related to COVID-19. The first is that he is ordering through the Department of Public Health certain individuals to shelter in place, that is, be in their homes or places of residence. Those individuals are people that live in nursing homes or long-term care facilities, those that have chronic lung disease, those that are undergoing any kind of cancer treatment, chemotherapy, radiation, etc., and certain other individuals that have chronic health problems. He is asking the Department of Public Health to issue guidelines, which I don't have yet. I'm not sure. I don't think they're online yet. Michael who is online right now, is looking to get those as soon as we can to establish rules for how these people get essential services like groceries and medicine and things like that. But that's being done right now by the Department of Public Health, and I would expect it to be out today, if not already out now, but I didn't have it as of this morning. That shelter-in-place order for those individuals only now. It's not for all citizens. I want to be clear about that. It's only for those people that have long-term health problems, cancer problems, or are in nursing homes or long-term care facilities. The second part of it is he closed all the bars. And the bars under the code are defined under Georgia law as any establishment, I think 75% or more of its revenue. Hold on one second. Okay, I just want to make sure we're all there. Bars are defined as you would expect them to be defined, where most of their revenue comes from alcohol and beer and wine. It does not include restaurants. He's not closing restaurants. He's just closing bars. That's the only thing he's closed in this order, which means the mayor's emergency order, which closes other types of businesses such as gyms and beauty parlors and things that the mayor just went over, still remains in effect until it expires. So the governor's order is not more restrictive than the mayor's emergency order. The third thing the governor did is that no business, I'm going to read it out, and because it's probably going to have some questions for the governor and his office of what it means, but that no business, establishment, corporation, nonprofit corporation, or organization shall allow more than 10 persons to be gathered at a single location if such gathering requires persons to stand or to be seated within 6 feet of any other person. So, for example, we could not, under the terms of this order, have a public meeting with the public sitting next to each other, more than 10 people sitting next to each other in the city hall chambers. That would prohibit that. But if you don't gather, if you have 10 people or more that are not gathered within 6 feet of each other, it's okay to be together. You just can't be within 6 feet, and it says requires, which tells me that he's trying to deal with situations with businesses that, because of the way they're set up, they would, like a small gym or something like that, that would require people to be within 6 feet of each other and generally would attract more than 10 people. So it's not, we don't, he hasn't issued guidance on exactly what requires means, but my interpretation of it right now is that any business establishment that generally does not require people, more than 10 people to gather and to be within 6 feet of each other is fine to remain open and operate under the conditions that the mayor has also issued, which is they are generally required to try to stay social distance away from each other, try to stay more than 6 feet away from each other. But I'm thinking, for example, of like a grocery store. I don't interpret this section to mean that you can't have more than 10 people in a grocery store. It's just people have to stay as far away from each other as possible. I don't think that the governor in his order was intending to shut down places like that. So we'll try to get further guidance on that, but right now, to me, I can only interpret this to mean that if the business itself is requiring people, more than 10 people, to be within 6 feet of each other, it cannot operate. But that would not, for example, be a grocery store because you're not requiring people to stand within 6 feet of each other to go to the grocery store. So I think that would be something that immediately came to my mind that the people would want to know. Can I still go to the grocery store? The answer is yes. I don't think there's any question that the governor didn't mean to affect those types of facilities, doctors' offices, hospitals, for example. And all of the Department of Public Health regulations are probably going to address this. I can imagine that for example, if you go to the emergency room and there's a public health issue and they're already probably trying to keep people 6 feet away from each other already. But essential services as you would think them to be, grocery stores, emergency rooms, hospitals, doctors' offices, things like that, need to take as much care as they can to keep people social distanced and away from each other, but this does not shut them down. That's something that I can imagine people were thinking, what does this mean to me going out and getting bread and water and things like that? It does not shut those places down. We'll get further clarification from the governor's office, but right now, that's my interpretation of this. So in that regard, as far as businesses are concerned, the mayor's order, which is more restrictive than the governor's as closing down businesses, would apply. So the governor's order just closes down bars. The mayor's order goes further and closes down, at least until the order expires, the things he mentioned earlier. So that still is in place. Just for those that are listening that think the governor's order supersedes the mayor's, that is not true. The governor closed down bars, but the mayor's order also closed down additional businesses, such as hair salons and nail places and barbershops and gyms and theaters and things like that. That still is in place until the order expires on April 6th. So, and I'll entertain. That's all as far as the social distancing and the businesses that are closed down, that's all as far as the substance of those orders, Mr. Mayor. There's another order that really is more for the medical establishment where the governor lifted certain restrictions and allows people who are doctors and nurses who otherwise would not be able to practice in Georgia to go ahead and practice. For example, doctors whose licenses have lapsed or become inactive, like for example they didn't pay their dues and they just wanted to retire, those licenses, those doctors can come back and practice in an emergency situation. Nurses who've not graduated or taken their licensing exam can practice nursing under certain circumstances. He's just trying to basically allow more healthcare workers to get into the system to deal with the crisis. And right now, I think I'll stop and entertain any questions.
Selling food can remain open by pickup or delivery. Just clarify that again.
Correct. Okay.
And I heard part about superseding the governor's order, but
Yep. Okay. The section of the mayor, and that's the mayor's order, that's not the governor's order. The governor didn't deal with explicitly restaurants unless it requires people to stand within 6 feet of each other and has more than 10 people in the location. But as far as explicitly restaurants, the mayor's order closes to the public all restaurants except for takeout, delivery, drive-through, or curbside service. And it also allows beer and wine to be sold and taken out in sealed containers without obtaining an additional license. 1. 2, if you have a cafeteria under the mayor's order, if there's a cafeteria in a hospital, nursing home, or a college, higher education, Mercer, Middle Georgia, Westland, things like that, this doesn't apply to them. So it's just restaurants in the Bibb County area that are selling food and beer and wine. They can't have in-room dining. They've got to have takeout, delivery, drive-through, or curbside service.
Okay, so my question now is to the mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, when you did your declaration, were you trying to coincide with the governor's ordinance, or what the governor was requiring, or were your intent to close down bars and restaurants that even that was doing pickup or delivery? I just want a clarification from the mayor on that.
I issued my, without the benefit of knowing exactly what the governor was going to do, other than what he did a week ago when he declared the state of emergency then and urged people to practice social distancing. So what I intended to do was what I heard several of my commissioners say that they wanted to do, which was to close restaurants, that at least the seating area of restaurants, so that people couldn't go into a restaurant, sit close to one another, and have dinner. Instead, it would have to be takeout, curbside service, drive-through, etc. So that was the intention as far as restaurants. I heard from several commissioners that they wanted to close bars down completely, and so we did that and closed bars. We also had a lot of commissioners express concern about people in close proximity, so we closed barbershops, hair design, cosmetology, aesthetics, massage therapy, tattooing, body waxing, tanning salons, and nail care. We closed them, but made an exception for direct supervision by medical doctors, nurses, dentists. So we're not trying to interfere with doctors, dentists, and professional medical people. We also closed the recreation facilities, including gymnasiums, health studios, yoga, pure bar, spin, other fitness classes, spas, saunas, indoor amusement facilities, arcades, bowling alleys, pool halls, movie theaters, playhouses, and concert venues. And all of this was to try to identify those businesses and those occupations that require people to come in close contact with one another for extended periods of time. So that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to impose something that would provide for social distancing, even in these business settings. Other than that, we allowed businesses to remain open. Retail businesses remain. So car dealers are open, hardware stores are open, grocery stores, pharmacies are open, because, as the county attorney said, there you're not requiring people to sit or stand within 6 feet of one another for extended periods of time. Mr. Watkins, go ahead.
How does that impact the industries, the Geico's of the world, and our manufacturing and industrial places? I heard you mention a lot of retail. Never mind that.
I think it was Commissioner Watkins who asked that question. couple of things. I think Geico, and this is not specific to the order, I think Geico's already closed. So it's not going to affect them at all right now, at least in Bibb County. But to answer your question more specifically, the mayor's order does not affect those businesses like you just described, manufacturing, industrial, commercial, retail, offices, things like that, as long as people take reasonable steps to make sure they're not 6 feet or closer than 6 feet from each other, and that if anybody is exhibiting any symptoms, and this would also be the governor's order, by the way, if anybody's exhibiting any symptoms or has been around anybody who's had symptoms of COVID, they've got to quarantine and be in isolation and stay home. So it doesn't shut them down. What both of these orders do is a lot of this is going to be self-regulated from the businesses, because, for example, if you've got an office in downtown Atlanta or downtown Macon, there's no way in the world that the governor or anybody from the Department of Public Health is going to know in a moment whether 10 people are in a conference room. So some of this is going to be self-regulating. Some of it, though, if you have somebody violating the governor's order, so for example, let's say you had 15 people in a conference room in Macon, and that would also violate the order of the mayor potentially. Somebody can call the Department of Public Health or the Sheriff's Office in Bibb County and look into it. The Department of Public Health has pretty broad power to shut that business down. That's the ultimate hammer here. If people are not complying with social distancing and complying with the governor's order and the mayor's order, which is eventually the Department of Public Health can shut the business down completely. But to answer your question directly, it doesn't shut down those businesses as long as they comply with the social distancing rules.
This is Al Tillman, and I appreciate you sharing that, because that was going to be my other question about the public health supersedes the Macon-Bibb Commission order. So my other question is, does this commission have to ratify the mayor's order because it's so broad? Because because some people have asked what part of the charter gives the mayor the right to do that, and I think you can, and maybe you can, maybe have the answer for folks. Folks have asked that question: why do I have to close down? What gives him the right? And then, does the commission have to ratify the executive order?
Right. So there's two questions that I heard. One was what authority that the mayor has to issue his order, and then two, does the commission have to ratify? The answer to the first one is there's a state statute called the Georgia Emergency Management Act that gives our system, because the declaration of a state of emergency by the governor, the mayor, he has an executive authority under the emergency management plan that was adopted by the commission to act on behalf of the government in times of emergency. He has certain emergency powers that are set out in the state law and in the charter plan. All that's set out in the and under section 9 of the code, the mayor can suspend certain ordinances and act in ways outside of the code in times of emergency for as long as the emergency exists. It's got to have a declaration by the governor, which has already occurred. So he does have the authority to do this. As far as your second question of ratification by the commissioner to the commission certainly can ratify, if they so desire, this order. My recommendation would be it not be a legislative act as opposed to just a ratification, because the mayor may have to, depending on the circumstances, act quickly to change this order in times of an emergency. This may change tomorrow, something else may happen, If the commission wants to ratify this existing order, there's no problem with that. I would recommend not doing legislative action like in the form of an ordinance, because it would be a lot slower process if we have to react to an emergency. But so the answer to your question is, one, he does have the authority under the state law and the charter, and two, you can ratify in that way as a unified voice, but I would not recommend an ordinance at this point because of it takes, the process is a lot slower, and there may be something come up tomorrow we have to react to. I hope does that answer your question, Commissioner Tillman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, then let me go on with another announcement, and this is really more just for information, but it also has some value as far as the extent of the issue that we're dealing with, the business fallout. Our airport, Middle Georgia Regional Airport, has been contacted and is making arrangements to park a number of aircraft that are not being utilized at this point by commercial airlines because the number of flights has been dramatically reduced, travel has been restricted, et cetera, et cetera. So there are 20 regional jets belonging to the Delta Connection people that will be parked, and the airport will receive compensation for them parking these planes there. Also, 30 regional jets from United Express will be parked at the airport. And the airport officials, TBI, is trying to get FAA approval to close the crosswind runway, or the secondary runway, not the main runway, so that they could park additional aircraft there if necessary. So again, that just is for your information, but shows kind of the extent of the problem that we're dealing with. We continue to work here under difficult circumstances. Meetings like this are difficult, I know, and I appreciate everybody's patience working with us. But we're doing a good job, I think, as far as continuing to carry out essential governmental services and provide for the public safety. I'm indebted to our fire chief, indebted to the sheriff for what he's trying to do, and our public works and parks and beautification folks and all the crew for pulling together under these difficult circumstances. If there's nothing else, we have a fairly short agenda today that I'd like to go ahead and begin if there are no further questions or comments.
Hey, quick question.
All right, sir. Is that Commissioner Watkins?
And I appreciate the report from the airport. I was just wondering if it's been a while. Have you the situation at the hospital? Could you enlighten us how that's going?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Say again.
I was wondering if you provide us with a brief update on the hospitals, Navison and I guess the Coliseum. Do they have any needs or concerns?
I do not have an update from Navicent. I know that there are several people at Navicent that are being treated for COVID-19. Several of them have come in from out of Bibb County. I mean, I think there are one from Monroe County and maybe one from Peach County now. There was a report yesterday about Houston County and the base having a report, but I do not know an accurate number, and I do not know if the Coliseum or Northside Hospital has any patients being treated for COVID-19. I don't know that, but I'll try to get it.
If it's possible, I don't want to belittle the point now, but could you possibly send an email update, not just on the situation with the number of people there, but just overall how's the hospital doing? Just some updates so we keep it in the loop.
I'll try to get that for you. I'll try to get something from Navicent as well as HCA and get that distributed to you, commissioners.
Are we not in touch with Navicent in the hospitals, Mr. Mayor?
We are in touch with them, yes, but as far as an update of how many patients they've got, I don't have that information now. But I'll get it and distribute it to you. With that having been said, let me start on the agenda for today. We do have a quorum on the phone here with us. So the first item in the agenda, approval of the minutes from March the 10th. Those minutes have been distributed. Are there any additions, corrections that need to be made? If not, can I get a motion and second to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. We have three items of new business that are all related to the same topic, and this is Mercer University building new soccer fields on property that they have acquired adjacent to the dog park. If everybody knows where the dog park is, Mercer acquired property between the dog park and the interstate and are proposing to put in recreational fields. Michael, are you on the line, and can you talk to us a little bit about the street closures that are being requested?
Comes off of Lincoln Avenue, and it kind of makes a flag shape. The east side is Linden Avenue, where you go into the dog park. The north side of it is Railroad Avenue. The west side, right next to the highway, is Chestnut Street Lane, and then the south side is Chestnut Street. And so Mercer has asked there to close Chestnut Street and Chestnut Street Lane. And then they plan to leave Linden Avenue and Railroad Avenue open as emergency access. My understanding is that they've acquired all of the residential lots within that loop and all of the residential lots on the south side of Chestnut Street, and that they've demolished a number of houses out there. I haven't been there in a couple of months, but they were in the process of demolishing all of the houses. And so two of the resolutions deal with Chestnut Street and Chestnut Street Lane. The third resolution deals with what is named Dannenberg Avenue, but if you're familiar with that area, Dannenberg Avenue kind of runs under the interstate and coincides with Oglethorpe Street. That is not what they are asking to close. Instead, just north of the intersection of Linden and Oglethorpe Street, maybe 30 or 50 feet north of that intersection, there's just a little dirt driveway that comes off of Linden Avenue that is an unopened right-of-way that is on the plat only. It is not a actual street, but it is platted as Dannenberg Avenue. And so because it is platted as Dannenberg Avenue, they've got to close that street in order to allow in order to take over title and complete their construction. So it's just a little dirt driveway. It goes about 50 feet into nothing, and it's between the house on the corner of Linden and Oglethorpe, and there's like a Georgia Power transformer that's got a little chain link fence around it that's on the other side of it. It's just a little dirt driveway. So that's the third resolution relating to Dannenberg Avenue.
Michael, is that this entire area is sort of a little blind pocket because you got the railroad on one side, the interstate on another side, and the dog park on the third side, and all of this would come back out and border Oglethorpe Street where it goes under the interstate. So I don't think neither of these streets is a through street, is what I'm trying to say. Chestnut Street Lane, neither of those is, and Dannenberg is an unopened right of way. Am I correct, Michael?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, sir.
Do any commissioners have questions or concerns about these three resolutions? If not, can I get a motion? Can I get a motion to approve the first resolution? And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption so you'll know exactly what you're voting on. So,
Mr. Mayor, it's Bivens. I have a question. Mr. Mayor, it's Bivens. I have a question.
oh, is that Commissioner Bivens? Commissioner Bivens, is that
It was Bivens.
Oh, Mr. Bivens, I have a question.
Commissioner Bivens has a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bivens.
Yeah. Has anybody gone out and looked at this area to see how people can go in and out if they're coming from other parts of town, say trying to get to Tatner Square or some other places around? This could close off egress to some people.
Yes, sir. That's what I was trying to say. This really is a little blind pocket that is bordered by the interstate on one side, the railroad track by another side, the dog park by the third side, but it comes back out to Oglethorpe. So this would not pose a problem for anybody trying to get to Tatnall Square Park or to try to get to Mercer or the other way to get from town out to Holt Avenue. It wouldn't interfere with any of that.
Try to get to Mercer or the other way to get from town.
You'll have to say again one more time. I didn't quite understand you. Was that Commissioner Jones?
No, sir.
That was Commissioner Bivens again, I think.
Okay.
No, not Bivens.
If there are no other questions, then can I get a motion and second on the...
Win, so moved.
Second, Jones.
Got Wynn and Jones motion and second. So let me get the clerk to read by caption what we're voting on.
A resolution approving and authorizing the closure of a portion of Dannenberg Avenue, for the purpose of accommodating new development in the area.
We've got a motion and second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Got one no, Bivens. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. The second resolution deals with Chestnut Street Lane, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution approving and authorizing the closure of a portion of Chestnut Street Lane for the purpose of accommodating new development in the area.
Can I get a motion and second on that resolution?
So
please?
moved.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and second there. Further discussion?
Yeah, what did you say the development was again?
The development is Mercer University's building 3 soccer fields. These are supposed to be intramural, as I understand it, soccer fields.
Yeah.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none,
Yeah.
all in favor of that resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
Mr. Mayor.
Uh,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor. This is Commissioner Tillman. If you would allow a few more seconds for those that may have questions or comments, because we're asked to mute our phones, and I've heard a couple of times that folks are trying to chime in, and so if we would just allow a couple of more seconds to give folks an opportunity to unmute their phones to be sure they don't have a question or comment.
I will certainly try to do that. So, are there any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes. Are they all coming off the tax rolls?
You know, that's an excellent question, and I would assume property owned by Mercer University is tax exempt, so yes, it would be coming off the tax rolls, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure what was there before had any significant tax value. There were several dilapidated houses that Mercer has acquired, torn down, and cleared, so I don't know what tax value was there, but I think you're correct in saying that these would not be on the tax rolls because they belong to Mercer University.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
I have a concern. Bivens, I have a concern.
All right, sir. Go ahead, Commissioner Bivens.
I mean, I'll probably vote no on this because with this kind of thing, I'd like to have some more time. For instance, if you wanted to go by and look at the area, or if you want to find out if residents in the area has a problem with it, and I don't know if that's been done.
Well, you'll certainly have that between now and next week. This is committee of the whole, so this will. Oh, and Janice is telling me it's actually going to be 2 weeks because we've got a fifth.
It's actually 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. You're right, Commissioner Wynn. It's actually going to be 2 weeks. So this will be a committee vote, and you'll have 2 weeks to go out. And if you're horrified by what you find, but I don't think you are, you'll have an opportunity then to discuss it in full at the meeting on April 7th.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, this is Michael. I could speak to that too.
Go ahead, Michael.
So, first, I'd like to point out that Mercer owns all of the real estate that surrounds these roads that they're asking to close. Secondly, I wanted to point out that per our policy, signs were posted notifying the public of these closures back in October. They remained posted for 30 days, and we didn't get a single comment for any of the 3 roads.
That's good information. Is there further discussion about this?
Mr. Mayor, this is Alan.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, is it not true that we did not have to put any money in toward tearing those blight homes down?
That's certainly true. Mercer has done all of that itself.
That's my question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Is there further discussion?
Question from Jones.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Jones.
So is there any expense at all for Macon-Bibb County?
No, to my knowledge. To my knowledge, no. Mercer's
Is that correct, Michael?
right. Mercer has acquired all the property, has done all the petitions, et cetera, for closure, and will construct the fields at their own expense.
Michael, is that correct?
Right. Yeah. We're just giving up ownership of the roads. We're not. And they're gonna have to buy the roads from us, and so they're gonna give us money for that. But that's the second step in this process. Right now, these 3 resolutions basically just take them off of our roadmap, and then we'll figure out a value and come back for the sale.
So then they'll actually purchase the roads themselves. Is that correct?
Right. They'll have to purchase the land to build their fields, but it's not going to cost us anything. We just lose the roads.
Okay, and that'll be determined by an appraisal, I presume.
Right.
Sorry.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, let me go back and get the vote again. This is the resolution approving and authorizing closure of a portion of Chestnut Street Lane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Got one no, Commissioner Bivens. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Then you got the third resolution. I'll ask the clerk to read that, but it's the Second Street, Chestnut Street, and ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving and authorizing the closure of a portion of Chestnut Street for the purpose of accommodating new development in the area and for other lawful purposes.
Can I get a motion and second for this companion resolution?
So moved.
Got a motion, and a second, further discussion now on closing Chestnut Street, this portion of it.
Okay, this is Lucas with a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Lucas.
Okay, my only concern is that we are not cutting off access to anybody living in that area. That has always been my hesitation on closing streets. Who can assure us that in voting for these closures that no one will be inconvenienced, that there are no residents living in those areas that have only one way in or out? Can we be assured of that?
I certainly think you can, Michael. Have you been out there on the ground?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've been out there. As I mentioned, it's been a couple of months since I drove out there. They've been working on this since the fall, but even back in the fall when I was out there, I mean, they were demolishing all the houses out there. Mercer, if you look at the title records, Mercer owns all of the land in the street that we're looking at. So where there are still occupied houses, the south part of Linden Avenue and then the east side of Chestnut Street, which is not part of what the closure is at all, kind of going around to the other side of the dog park, none of that is being affected by this. This is just a little closed dead-end loop that Mercer has bought 100% of.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure because we've made some mistakes in the past allowing closures of some streets that cut off access. So that satisfies the concern. Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Got one no, Commissioner Bivens. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item.
Point of information, Mr. Mayor, before you move to your next item.
Yes, sir.
I know your agenda's already been set, but last week, one of the items I believe was tabled had something to do with the COVID, the alternate work schedule program.
That's right.
That's not on the agenda for discussion today.
There is an item. No, it's not on. It's not on here today. Dr. Moffitt, can you add anything to that?
Yes. We enacted some new federal guidelines as far as it relates to work schedules. So the county attorney and Dr. Duhart are going through that. It concerns things such as FMLA, how we will account for people's time going forward, if they have child care issues, if they're out sick, and things like that. So we're asking, we will probably present something to you in 2 weeks.
You'll present something here.
All right. I'm sorry, y'all. I have to repeat that. I was not on the microphone for the public. On Thursday, the federal government, the president signed new laws into effect that are going to affect how we account for time. So we would need to, the county attorney and Dr. Duhart, HR director, are going through that to incorporate that into our policies going forward. So we hope to have something to be ready to be read at the April 7th meeting to be discussed in committee on the 14th.
All right. In the interim, though, does the executive order cover our employees that are? I guess my concern is I know some people are working or not working. That could be shorted. Or do we already have to enforce that cover?
If I understand your question, in the interim, we are still taking every employee issue case by case to be approved through HR. Each department has presented me with their alternative work schedule, which I have tentatively approved. We are focusing on social or minimum exposure internally and externally. So several departments have people working from home. Several departments have already restricted the public access into that area that must interact with the public. Any employee that has expressed concerns of sickness or child care, they are working with HR, and we are accommodating those requests.
Thank you for indulging me. I have one more question, if you will. roughly how many employees do you know that have made it through the process that have been impacted? Are we looking at a big population, or is everybody able to work as is?
I got your question.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
How many employees?
How many employees? Yeah, how many employees do we know of that have been impacted or went through our process to ask for some type of consideration?
Dr. Duhart has that running list for us. I would think probably no more than about 30.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
So there's nothing on the agenda today for that. As Dr. Moffitt said, we hope to have something for you to read on April the 7th and be referred to a committee on April the 14th for further explanation, but nothing on this agenda for today. Next item on our agenda is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sales agreement for some fire turnout gear. And let me ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sales agreement with North American Fire Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $118,783.35 for the purchase of V-Force turnout gear to be paid from 2018 SPLOST funds for public safety, fire department upgrade line item, and for other lawful purposes.
Other questions or concerns about this? I think this is the same turnout gear that we were contemplating purchasing several weeks ago, and we clarified the language to make it clear that this was something that we could buy. If there are no further questions, can I get a motion and second?
Lucas with a comment.
Commissioner Lucas, go ahead.
This is fire department.
Correct.
The same fire department that rescued two of my grandchildren some years ago from a fire.
One and the same.
I vote yes, of course, always.
I'll take that to be a motion. Can I use you, Commissioner Lucas, as a motion? And if so, can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and second to purchase this turnout gear then. Further questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is another resolution to spend some additional SPLOST dollars over at the Coliseum to buy an ice resurfacing machine, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sales agreement with All Star Arenas LLC for the purchase of a Zamboni 546 ice resurfacer in the amount of $152,267.05 to be paid from 2018 SPLOST funds for culture and recreation, Coliseum line item, and for other lawful purposes.
Is there further questions or comments? And if not, can I get a motion and a second to buy a Zamboni?
Second,
Mr. Mayor? Mayor?
Got a motion and second now. Further discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Commissioner
Sorry,
Schlesinger.
Yeah, as a season ticket holder to the Macon Mayhem hockey team, I can tell you that Zamboni definitely needs to be replaced. There were times when the Zamboni actually malfunctioned and the game had to be canceled. So this is something that hockey team and our entire community needs to invest in.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Schlesinger. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, this is Lucas.
Go ahead, Commissioner Lucas.
I know that we need to replace this. It's a big, expensive piece of equipment, and it's needed. My only concern is that there be training for and a limitation as to who uses that big piece of equipment, especially the training on it, because that's an expensive piece of equipment, and if people are not properly trained on it, you can easily tear it up, and you're talking about over $150,000 each time that you replace.
I agree with you completely, Commissioner Lucas, and that goes not just for the ice resurfacing machine, but I think we need to be careful about, training of the operators of all of our heavy equipment and drivers. And Dr. Moffitt, let me call on you for a further comment.
Ms. Lucas, I did express your concerns to the management at Spectra, so that was relayed as you instructed me to do.
Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I think I've got a motion and a second. So all in favor of the resolution to buy the Zamboni ice resurfacer signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Or approved, I guess I should say. It'll be formally adopted 2 weeks from now. Next is a resolution that I think is going to excite a lot of people to hire the tennis pro, but we're actually hiring her LLC, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve the terms of a professional service agreement with Agape Tennis Academy LLC for exclusive tennis and pickleball professional services at all Macon-Bibb County tennis centers, and a lease agreement for the pro shops located at all Macon-Bibb County tennis centers in exchange for fees paid to the county as described herein and for other lawful purposes.
Michael, if you're still on the line with us, I think you worked on this contract. Can you kind of go over some of the high points of it for us, please, sir?
Yes, sir. So it's largely based off of Hodges' former contract as reviewed and modified at the suggestion of Ms. Jamie Kaplan. The scope of services is for our 3 tennis centers. Now we have a third. Carl Hodges only covered the first 2. We didn't have South Bibb. But she's going to do at least 6 free tennis clinics per year for the community. She's going to have tennis camps. The tennis tournaments will be operated by the Macon Tennis Association. And then she'll be allowed to operate the pro shop and sell concessions at the tennis centers. The fees that she paid will be the escalator fees that were proposed by Jamie Kaplan. The first 6 months, the fee is $500 a month. The next 6 months is $1,000 a month, so that's a total of $9,000 for the first year. The second year is $1,500 a month, so $18,000 for the second year. And then the third through 5th year, this is a 5-year contract, so the third through 5th year is $2,000 a month, and so that's $24,000 for the year. So that'll give her some time to get established and ramp up operations. She can do stringing and racket repair. She can rent tennis ball machines. She can sell merchandise or apparel. She's got to give us reports each month, financial reports showing what her earnings are. And there's a couple of things that we put in here based on our experiences with the Carl Hodge matter that to kind of punch up this contract too. Specifically, if for any reason her employment is ever terminated, because she's also employed with us as the tennis pro on the department. If her employment is ever terminated, this contract will terminate automatically along with it. We added some language about the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, and there's a requirement which follows all of their policies that they've come out, which are federal law now, but just to emphasize, she has to follow all their policies that come out to make sure that minors aren't put in a position where they might be at risk for any kind of emotional or mental or physical or sexual abuse, anything like that. So, and they also have policies as far as handling any kind of complaints or any kind of suggestions that might be made of any mistreatment of minors, whatever the form. And that's taken very seriously. And so there's a lease for the 3 pro shops for the tennis centers, and that's an additional fee of $1,200 annually just for the use of the space. I think that covers it.
Questions
This
from
is Lynn.
commissioners?
I have a question.
One at a time, please.
I have a question. Did you hear me?
Is that Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wynn.
As I understand this contract, it is a much sweeter deal for the city of Macon-Bibb. It's a good contract for her, and it's a good contract for us. So I think we ought to approve this.
Very good. Well, hold on a second. Can I take that, Commissioner Wynn, as a motion to approve?
I got a
Yes.
a question.
Okay, I got a motion. Can I get a second? And then we'll get to Mayor Pro
Second.
Tem and additional comment.
Second, Jones.
Jones, second. I got a motion and second. Mayor Pro Tem, I had you next, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just want the commission to know that it appears to me that this commission is being used to approve this to build a case that we have not discussed in closed session, and that some of us are not familiar with. We know that there's an ongoing issue that needs to be discussed privately, but I just want y'all to know that this is what this appears, that we are appearing to build a case to come back to say, well, we've done this, and now we can't do this because those are the issues. And I would ask to table this because there are discussions that we know that the county attorney has said we cannot discuss at this time, and the county manager has not discussed with our commissioners. And so the county attorney, Michael, has said and used language that to me he should not have used because some folks may be asking why certain language. And everybody doesn't know what's going on. So I'm not going to support it, but I just want to be clear that these other matters that we need to discuss have not been cleared up. I'm not going to support this and appear to use to build a case to help something that has not been justified or ratified by this entire commission. And you all know what I'm talking about.
Very good, Commissioner Tillman.
But Paul Sentiment, do you want to table this, Mr. Tillman?
Sir?
He made the motion.
Oh, I made the motion to table.
Commissioner Tillman has made a motion to table. Is there a second to the motion to table?
But there's a motion on the floor already.
Yes.
I think I had a second by Commissioner Lucas. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Commissioner Tillman, second by Commissioner Lucas to table this. That's a non-debatable motion, so we need to have a roll call vote to see whether the motion to table is effective. So I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, and please answer as your name is called as to whether you vote to support the motion to table would be yes, and to oppose the motion to table would be no.
Commissioner Allen?
No.
Commissioner Bibbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
No.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard? Commissioner Shepard, are you there? Commissioner Shepherd, can you unmute your phone, please?
Yes.
So you move yes to table?
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Schlesinger?
No.
Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
No.
I get 5 yeses and 4 noes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 4. The motion to table passes, so it's tabled, and we'll take it up at a later time. The next item on the agenda is an ordinance to adopt public health measures relating to the conduct of funerals. This is sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Tillman. But let me say before I call on him, I did include in the emergency order gatherings of 10 or more, which would apply to funerals. And also issued a directive asking funeral homes not to schedule funerals in the chapel or church. So we've kind of addressed this twice. But Mayor Pro Tem, tell us if you want what you want us to do with this ordinance that you're proposing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I have spoken to the District 6 coordinator. I've spoken to several funeral homes, and last week I spoke to our attorney, Mr. Gruber. And as I sit here today, I'm receiving calls and questions about it right now from individuals that still may be confused about it. I just think that the news media can help us clarify. Number one, I'm going to pull the resolution because I do think the executive order covers what we wanted to cover, but a more specific question is someone asked, well, what about outside, even if we're outside? And I just think that people need to know and understand that these issues dealing with the coronavirus does not just include indoors, that I think we need to be clear and say loudly that this includes even if you're outside and standing outside, because this is what this recent funeral home person just texted me just a few minutes ago and says, what about outside? And that someone has just told them, a funeral home, that they're going to allow 50 people. And I told him that that was incorrect, that it was 10. So I think the emphasis, Mr. Mayor, coming from this commission is that this affects businesses that may be working outside, such as construction workers and so forth, as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Tillman. We appreciate that. I understand you've pulled this resolution today. That is the end of the agenda that I have. Anybody want a point of personal privilege, any other business? We don't have any new business to refer at this point. And our next...
Mr. Mayor, Lucas, could you please just briefly say again or repeat what those restrictions are as far as funerals?
Yeah, I'll call on the county attorney. I'll call on the county attorney to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everybody hear me okay?
Assume they can.
Okay. Commissioner Lucas and Commissioner, that's a good question. So with respect to funerals, there's going to be both the mayor's order and the governor's order apply. And so let me take the mayor's first. It would restrict in any indoor or outdoor space that tends to be confined. So think about an outdoor funeral tent, for example, where people are typically sitting graveside next to each other. You cannot have more than 10 people gathered together, even outdoors, and that would apply to a funeral situation. The governor's order says that if you have more than 10 people together in a single location, that would also include outdoors, that requires persons to stand or sit next to each other at all within 6 feet, you can't do it. So both orders apply to a funeral, an outdoor or indoor funeral.
Get more clarification, because even when people hear things, with something like this, you have to hear it again so that it's clear. And while we're talking about, Mr. Mayor, I know your intent is probably to do this to express our deepest sympathy to the family of the officer who was killed, and also to the family of Reverend Dr. Ronald Terry. Reverend Terry passed away a few days ago, and so they're having to deal with the death of a loved one, but they're also having to deal with these special circumstances.
Right. That's well said, Commissioner Lucas, and yes, we do regret this inconvenience that the current circumstances are putting on all of us. But we have suggested, and I think that the sheriff's office has taken this so that the funeral can be done privately with a minimum number of people, and then at some appropriate time in the not too distant future, when this COVID crisis has passed, we'll have a memorial service, and I'm confident they'll do the same thing for Reverend Terry and have a memorial service at some point in the future. And that's kind of, as you say, the best we can do under the circumstances. Further questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a concern I'd like to raise.
Go ahead, Commissioner
Bibbins. I'm concerned about our hospitals. From what people are saying, they're supposed to know, there's a good chance that we could end up needing surge capacity. In other words, our hospitals don't have a lot of extra room now, and I wish we could take up the idea of putting money in this budget. And I think that the idea I had in mind was about $7 million, but that could be adjusted so that we could help the hospitals come up with surge capacity. There are unused schools. There's a Virgil Power building. But we need to come up with something, because it would be more tragic to have a lot of people with illness and not have anywhere to put them.
Let me respond, Commissioner Bibbins, by saying that we have been in touch with Navicent about that. We have made several suggestions for buildings that might be suitable and appropriate for surge capacity, as you have suggested. We have referenced the Senior Citizens Center as a possibility. We have referenced the sheriff's outreach facility, the old rescue mission, as a possibility, and we've also suggested the old Virginia College building on Eisenhower Parkway. And interestingly enough, at this point, the hospital seems to be most interested in looking at Virginia College building as a possible location for surge capacity, but they have not made any request to us for funding. That I do have a phone conference with Dr. Saunders later this morning, but thus far we have not had any recommendation or request for funding assistance with the surge capacity. And I understand that the federal government is making funds available to hospitals for that kind of thing as well. But we'll get additional information for you.
I just think that this board needs to take a position. And I noticed you didn't mention the Coliseum. We can't just deal with Navicent. We got to be dealing with both of the hospitals. And I think that this board needs to take a position on trying to do something just in case. We see, my concern all along is that this doesn't sound like a coordinated effort. And I think that's what we should have had that we don't have evidently.
Thank you, Commissioner Bivens. We'll try to get some additional information
Well
together.
stated, Mr. Bivens.
Yeah, I want to be clear as well.
If it's possible, Mr. Mayor, so I'm not opposed to doing some type of work session teleconference on, a hospital preparedness, later this week or the following Tuesday if possible.
We can certainly schedule a meeting, and if you want to have a work session on this by teleconference, we can certainly schedule that on the 5th Tuesday, which would be the 31st. We've got the time to do that, but we'll try to get a little bit of additional information. I think our notice has to go out something like 48 hours in advance to have a special call meeting. But if you wanted to do that, we could on the 31st of March. But let me see what information we can pull together and distribute to you between now and then, so that you'll know whether or not you want a work session on the 31st or not.
Question or comment. One is Commissioner Tillman here. The second part is going to be for the attorney, DeGruber. But the first comment is to all commissioners that I think we designated Navicent Health as the public hospital. But I do support Commissioner Bivens' effort that we have to support and give money to both. We don't know, at least I don't, the true numbers that they are dealing with. I have expressed to Dr. Moffitt that my concern is adding money back to our budget to include Navicent, because in a situation like this, we know that there's no amount of money that we can give them that will help with cases of indigent care that they're serving, but at least this commission in Macon-Bibb County will say that we do support our public hospital and with some funding. So, Mr. Mayor and your administration, as you move forward, please look to consider what Mr. Bivens' request is, and there may be others as well. And my second question is to Attorney Gruber. Commissioner Watkins just asked a question: how do we, in this setting, call for a special call meeting? And is there a way to, if need be, by the mayor or commissioners to go into an executive session? I would assume that there would be a totally different number or some sort of a category set up. Or did I also hear you say, sir, that there's a possibility if commissioners were going to meet, that they would meet and just be spread out in City Hall? Just clarify that for me, sir. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, but there are, I think, to answer your first question about the meeting, you can call special call meetings for certain categories. You've got to give the public notice of what the meeting is about, and if it's and you can go into executive session as long as you let the public know the category of executive session. So buying property, personnel issues, whatever. And then as to the whether commissioners can meet under the governor's order, you can meet under the terms of his order as long as you don't have more than 10 people that are required to be together within 6 feet, which would, I guess you could conceive of a way we could do it. I'm not sure how you would physically do that because of the number
Not
of
requesting that,
commissioners.
sir. I'm not requesting that, but just wanted to be clear, I'm not requesting that. But just wanted you to clarify that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, we've reached the end of our agenda. Further points of personal privilege or discussion of any sort that we need to take?
One more, Mr. Mayor Jones.
Commissioner Jones, go ahead.
Regarding the medical community, and we need to embrace private, public, and all of those. I will tell you, talking to President Steve Daugherty of HCA, he's been there 6 years now. He tells me that he has never seen such a spirit of cooperation between HCA and Navicent and Houston Medical Center since his entire time here. They are on the phone talking almost daily, comparing notes, talking about issues between the three hospitals, so we could get some good information from them and follow their lead. Thank you.
Very good. Well, as I say, we'll try to get more information for you and disseminate that so that you can decide if you want to have a meeting and for what purpose. Otherwise, if there's no special call meeting between now and then, our next meeting will be on April the 7th. And that will be a nighttime meeting, and we'll convene at 6 o'clock on April the 7th, unless, Janice has reminded me, 5 o'clock pre-commission. 5 o'clock pre-commission on April the 7th and 6 o'clock commission meeting. But again, absent any change, that'll be by teleconference, and no public access, and commissioners not to attend in person. So with that having been said, if there's nothing else, we stand adjourned.